So Ederson is signing for Manchester United this summer. It's perhaps a little bit of an underwhelming first signing, but I get the feeling that this is just the start of the rebuild. So the question is, what other midfielder do you get to play with him? Now, of course, as I will continue to point out every time we discuss central midfielders, we do already have Kobbie Mainoo at the club. And we have already done a video looking at how Mainoo and Ederson could play alongside each other. But of course, if we really want to go deep in the competitions next season, then we need depth. Ederson is great and Kobbie Mainoo is absolutely fantastic, but we do need more. There will be some games that Kobbie can't play. So the question is, in terms of profile, who would be the ideal player to play alongside Ederson? And I think the first thing that you would want is someone who is a first phase specialist, someone who is excellent at taking the ball under pressure in the first phase to help the team play out from the back. In recent weeks, we've discussed that Ederson is okay here, but he's not press resistant. So 9 times out of 10, I actually think he'll play a little bit higher before then maybe dropping into those spaces. But of course, if he is going to be the higher one, then alongside him, you would want a deeper one. Someone who is more of a first phase specialist. So I think this is something that I would be looking for one of Manchester United's next midfield signings. Another player that can take the ball under pressure in the first phase. Because of course, these players can break the opposition press. When the opposition sort of squeeze high man to man like this, having a player who can take the ball under pressure and roll away and turn forward just unlocks a load of options for us moving forward. So in terms of the dream Ederson partner, I think it would be someone that takes responsibility in the first phase. Now, as you have hopefully learned from watching the channel over the past few weeks, Ederson on the ball a little bit higher up the pitch is someone that wants to get involved. He wants to have a lot of touches of the ball, but he really plays with this great intensity. He's got a real buzz to him as a midfielder. He's not one of these guys who just sits there in the middle of the park and holds his position. He will cover, sort of every blade of grass for Manchester United. I would expect to see moments where he's over here, over here, over here, over here. He is someone who likes pass and move football. So once he picks the ball up in midfield, and it might be a safe pass out wide, he isn't one of those players that just sort of watches his work. He doesn't think his work is done. He's always going to make that next action to try and receive the ball again. And that comes both in deeper positions, but also a little bit higher up the pitch. This is something that we've discussed a lot, that Ederson likes to move the ball forward and then follow that pass. And of course, we've covered this a few times, that injects intensity into the play. When you force the ball forward, you follow it, you bring players with you, you open up spaces in other positions. But of course, if Ederson is off doing all of that, then there is an argument for needing a midfielder alongside him that is going to play a little bit deeper and someone that's going to play a little bit slower. Ederson's really got a lot of speed about his play. I think something I would like him to work on is his tempo control, the moments when you slow it down again. For now, whilst he doesn't have that to a high level, you probably want it from his partner. Someone who is occasionally going to take extra touches in the middle of the park, is going to slow down, just to manage the waves of tempo for Manchester United. I always feel the best way to play against the opposition is to change what you're doing. Sometimes play wide, sometimes play narrow, sometimes play quick, sometimes play slow, sometimes play short, sometimes play long. Make yourselves unpredictable. To do that with Ederson and Bruno both in the team, you would want your third midfielder to be a little bit calmer on the ball, a little bit slower, perhaps take more touches, take longer on the ball, and focus on moving the ball rather than themselves actually covering a lot of ground. So you probably would want sort of this passing specialist in midfield behind Ederson to allow him to go and play as a box-to-box midfielder, use up all of that fantastic energy that he's got, whilst this other midfielder, the ideal partner, sort of plays a little bit deeper and keeps things sort of ticking over in the middle. Now, I think something else that you probably want from the dream Ederson partner is someone who brings a bit more subtlety to the play. If we quickly sort of chain up this Manchester United front five and look at these guys as individuals, but also as a collective, I think they're 5 players that are very direct and perhaps at times are about efficiency over the aesthetics. And ultimately, efficiency is the most important thing in football. It's about getting the most from each of your actions. But I don't think it would hurt for this Ederson partner to be someone who again is a little bit calmer and is a bit more of the connector type. So whilst your Edersons, your Brunos, your Cunhas and Mbumos are sort of buzzing about the pitch in the final third, having someone who again is a bit more of a calming influence on the team. Someone who's going to slow the game down but find the other guys. Ederson himself will want to be quite direct, quite forward. So sometimes you need that extra midfielder in the middle who you can give the ball to, he's going to take a touch, and then he's going to move it to a teammate. Allow Manchester United to attack over here. It doesn't work over here. Okay, you go back to this guy, he looks after it, he moves to the right-hand side to Ederson. Ederson has a go over here with Mbeumo. It doesn't work. Okay, we come back to this guy. So I think that's what you want in the middle of the park. I think a lot of people feel that this could be Kobbie Mainoo. Of course, we have discussed this already, but I don't think it's quite right for Kobbie. I think Kobbie wants to sort of venture a little bit further forward. I also think Mainoo is more of a dribble first or carry first player. I think this ideal profile would be someone who is more of a passing specialist. So that is what I would probably try and get alongside Ederson in possession. Kobbie could work for some games, but I would look probably for someone different. Now again, just to make this crystal clear, I am not saying that Ederson comes straight into our starting 11, and I am also not suggesting that Kobbie Mainoo should come out of the team. Absolutely not. But I think it's worth pointing out, again, hopefully a 50 to 60 game season next year, there's going to be moments where Kobbie can't play and Ederson does have to come in, and we've got to think about who the ideal partner would be. And of course, that stems from a defensive point of view as well. We have to talk about how this works out of possession. Ederson, as previously described in other videos, is a hunter, I would say, off the ball. He's a destroying central midfielder. He's an athletic man. He's a strong man, but he's combative. And like I said, he's a hunter. He's not someone to sit in front of the defence and wait for things to come towards him. He's on the hunt. He's going to go after the opposition. He's going to literally try and hunt them down and win the ball back. Said it a few times. I think he's the best pressing midfielder in the world, or certainly right up there, and that'll be exciting. The last thing that you want to do is take that away from him. If his instinct is to press and engage high, then it would be silly to sign him and ask him to play deeper. So what you probably need alongside him is someone who is going to do a bit more of that natural screening role. So whilst Ederson is jumping and being super aggressive, if we could literally build the dream midfield partner, they would probably play a little bit deeper off the ball and do more of that screening job in front of the centre-backs. Or, and this is a different option, a slightly different outlook on it, you could get another midfielder who really likes to defend on the front foot. You could go for another hunter in the middle of the park. So rather than screening in front of the back four, what you would actually do is get another midfielder who's really going to pounce high up the pitch with Ederson. We can see the two of them now really going for the opposition. But in this case, you would want a new centre-back, someone who is more comfortable repeatedly jumping into midfield. Because if not, if they're both jumping into midfield, but the centre-backs drop off, then of course we end up with these big spaces in the middle. So we either need a midfielder that is going to screen in there, or let the midfielder jump and ask a centre-back to jump into those positions. I think that's the dream world for Ederson. Now, of course, we don't live in a dream world, so we can't always find this perfect partner, but today I am just thinking out loud about a new player that we have signed, how I think you can get the best out of them. And for me, defensively, it's to let him off the lead. You know, let him go and run, let him go and press people, harry people, and he will win the ball back in really dangerous positions. Now, I think when we talk about Ederson like this, he becomes a really interesting prospect for Manchester United. It makes him a really interesting signing because some of the things that we are asking for as a profile, especially in possession, is quite similar to what we've asked for some of our other central midfielders over the years, and we've never really found them. You know, I think in possession, we do still want that player who is more of a pass-focused player. Kobbie is an incredible footballer, but he's not a great passer, and Ederson is a very solid player, but again, he's not an expansive passer, and he's not a pass-first player. You know, I almost want someone in the midfield to partner Kobbie, to partner Ederson, and hopefully one more midfielder. I want someone in there who, when I look at them, the first strength that jumps out to me is the passing game. You know, with Kobbie, I would say it's about his dribbling work and the way that he manipulates space. With Ederson, I would say it's the way he presses high and really applies himself to the game. I would love us to sign another central midfielder to come into this area where the first thing that I notice is his passing game. I think that's the player that we need. I think it helps you unlock Kobbie Mainoo, but also probably Ederson as well. Someone who can really move the ball forward, play from a deeper position, almost doesn't have to do as much running to be as an equally effective player. I think that's what we need in the middle of the park. But I'm really interested to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. The other day we discussed the prospect of Ederson and Kobbie playing together, and the conclusion was that it could work sometimes, but it's not going to be a dream starting midfield to go and win the league. So do you think there is a player out there that you can sign this summer that's available and affordable and somewhat realistic? Is there one player that you could sign that looks like the ideal partner for Ederson, but also the ideal partner for Kobbie Mainoo. Do you think that player exists this summer? And if so, who do you think it is? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you could sign just one other midfielder, who would it be? Let me know what you think. To sort of cap off this mini Ederson series that we have done, overall I'm quite okay with the signing. I wouldn't say I'm excited or over the moon. I think he's a good player, a player that we've chased for a long time, that we've covered for a long time. We're getting ourselves a good footballer. We're getting ourselves an upgrade in the middle of the park, but I still feel as though we need a lot more. This is just the start, I hope. I hope there is plenty more to come, more money to be spent, and bigger, better players to be brought in. That is sort of my hope for the rest of the summer. And of course, one of those players, maybe two, that we need are midfielders to complement what we've got. So like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are now finished for today's video. So thank you very much for watching this one. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.